Hi, this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. In this video, I'm once again returning back to the Langford Descendancy Project that I've been working on. And here we are with James Langford again and his children. One of the difficult things with this project is a lot of the children didn't have any sources on FamilySearch. And so kind of been working on a few assumptions, and it's really uncomfortable. You don't like to do that. In my previous video, I'd worked on Job, couldn't really find any sources. I'm kind of stuck there. So now I'm working on Martha. Before I go forward on Martha's page here, I want to look at the will because I want to be able to have sources for Martha. And Martha is mentioned in the will for James Langford. So you see here, if I click on it, I've got the will linked to some of the children. And so let's go and look at the will and see what he says about Martha. Again, the writing on this can be a little bit difficult to read, so I'll try to highlight the best I can. But the daughters are mentioned down here towards the bottom of this page, and it's a little bit hard to read. But it starts about here. I give and bequeath unto my daughter Nancy Snellgrove, and I talked about her in a previous video, and the heirs of her body, $100 in the place of land to that amount. I also give to my daughter Martha Harman, and the heirs of her body, $100. So we learn a couple of things. One, that James Langford is the father of Martha Harman. Martha Harman is her married name, so she's married to someone with the last name of Harman. That's really good to know because it ties these people together and establishes a father-daughter relationship. We hope to have more than that, but that's all we have because of this time period, and perhaps there are some other records out there, but for now, we are able to tie James Langford to Martha Langford with that record. Now, I have here John Harman as her husband, and I think I got that from FamilySearch, so we're going to pop over to FamilySearch and take a look. So here's James Langford on FamilySearch, so let's go forward to Martha's page. On Martha's page on FamilySearch, we've got some dates. I'm not entirely sure where all these dates come from. Somebody's got to have some reason for that. All we know is there's some records that suggest she was born about 1815. Same with the death date. Not really sure where this came from. It looks like it was just copied from an ancestry tree. So let's scroll down. And so here we've got John Harman, and we've got some birth and death dates. We have an approximate marriage year of 1835, and that's probably because the oldest son here, is born in 1836. So we have an approximate marriage year, and that would make sense. Martha would have been about 20 years old when she got married. It looks like John is almost 30. So let's look at the sources that are attached to Martha. And it looks like we've got this 1850 census with John Harman. So let's take a look. It is in Lexington County, South Carolina, so that seems to match with what we know about the family. Right, if we zoom in, here we go. Here's John Harman. He's a farmer with some property. This is the value of the property. Got Martha, and then three children, Henry, Anna, and Edwin. And it looks like Henry and Anna are attending school. That's what these tick marks over here in this column mean. So we've got the beginnings of what appears to be a family. The 1850 census does not give relationship statements, so it's a general inference that this is a family and that John and Martha are a married couple. So that gives good evidence that we've got the right person. So we want to see if we can find anything else. A marriage record or of some kind would be helpful. Very often when you're researching women in this time period, you have to research their husbands. And so we need to do some searching for records for John Harman. And the full text search using AI, FamilySearch, is becoming something that I'm using more and more. It is tremendously useful. You do have to keep in mind that there are some caveats that not every county or city or locality in the United States is included. It says even here, limited data is currently available. However, it is worth it to try it because you're not sure what you'll find. And it does save time from having to go through record collections individually, every image and whatnot. So let's do John Harman. And we get 39 million results, which John and Harman is probably a pretty common name. So let's narrow by location. We know that we're in South Carolina, so we'll try to narrow down, and in Lexington County. Now, John Harman could be in other records outside of Lexington County, but for the moment, we're just going to focus on Lexington County here. Okay, so that brings it down to 13,000. Now, if we want to be even more specific, we can. This might be a good place. The most relevant results are usually going to be listed first. But we can put quotation marks around John Harman's name, and that's going to ensure that the results have John and Harman next to each other. So we'll update the search. Okay, so that brings us down to 163 results, and that's a lot more realistic. Just going through these search results seem to indicate that John Harman was involved in a lot of buying and selling a property. And that's without me even looking at any of these records directly. And you can see I looked here at this one. This is not the one that I had found that for Martha, but you can see here that, let's zoom in here. Joel Harman is selling property to Godfrey Harman and John Harman, which is interesting because they all have the same last name. And so there's something with this family being involved in property selling. And it looks like between each other too. So I'm not exactly sure why. This is going to definitely require some deeper investigation, going through each of these property sales, extracting the names and the people and the property descriptions, and even getting a map and trying to identify where exactly these properties were. I think it would reveal a lot about this family. So this is just one example. Now, I did have one as I was going through that I found that I thought was extremely useful. So up here, it is a property sale between John Harman to Godfrey Harman again. And in here, it talks about John Harman, who's selling land that was originally owned, originally on the Beaver Dam Creek waters of the Saluda River, being a part of a tract of land originally granted to Milcher Harman. So Milcher Harman is possibly a father or a grandfather. It's a person who had this property originally, so they got it through land grants or something, and it seems the family is still dividing and buying and selling that property, probably after Milcher had died. And you can see here there's some other Harmans mentioned, and so that's why I'm saying that each of these property sales needs to be looked at very carefully to identify the Harman family. But if we come down here at the bottom, we have a mention of Martha. So right here says something here: do hereby certify unto all whom it may concern that Martha Harman, the wife of the within named John Harman, did this day appear. And it goes on to say that she's releasing her dower or property ownership interest that is being sold. She's releasing that so that she doesn't have any claim on it anymore, and the property sale can go forward. So at that time, wives and other women who have inherited property and then get married have to release their permission to sell a piece of property. This implies a lot of things, but the important thing in this particular case is that she is named as John Harmon's wife. So that helps establish, or it provides evidence of the marriage relationship. So this was a really good find, and I was pretty excited to find it. So even though I've not found a marriage certificate yet, we can feel comfortable saying that Martha Langford did indeed marry John Harman. Very exciting. Now, let's say we did want to find a marriage record, a certificate, something in a register, church record, or something. What is available? Because we're talking 1835. So the best way to figure out whether there's anything available is to go to the FamilySearch Research Wiki and just do a search in the wiki for your location genealogy. So in this case, I'm doing it at the state level. And this is South Carolina, United States genealogy. And then they have links. So here's a link to on how to find marriage records. So let's go forward. And this is just a step-by-step guide to help you walk through what marriage records collections are available. So one thing to keep a note, counties began recording marriages in 1911. So clearly outside of the potential date range of when our marriage occurred, of 1835. But they do have a link here that says, what about marriages before 1911? And here are some record collections that could be searched to see if there is something already. And a lot of these are just indexes. But you can see here, like this Ancestry South Carolina marriages covers the date range that I'm looking for. And these marriage record collections, you got to look at the descriptions of them to understand what is available and what is exactly included. So they're not going to be comprehensive. And in fact, you can see here for the FamilySearch record collection, it's incomplete. So even if you don't find a marriage record for your ancestor, that doesn't mean there's not one that didn't exist at some point in time. It's just the record coverage, I guess you could say, is scattered, and there's been record losses and stuff over time. And so still doesn't hurt to try and search through these and see, maybe you can find it. Also, these are not specific to a particular county, it's the entire state. And so we need to look a little bit deeper than just this page. So let me go back. If I scroll down here and we go to Lexington County, and again, it repeats that marriages weren't officially recorded by the government until 1911. And this is a burned county. So records pre-1839 were destroyed, and I think there are some others. So Lexington is one of those difficult counties to search. But if I click on this and go down to marriages, it gives it a bit more detail. So, for example, it says here, in the 1700s, the Church of England parish churches were required to record all marriages, even if the couple were not members of the denomination. So that's good to know, because possibly the marriages are recorded in a church record collection. And so you need to identify what churches were there in Lexington County. And I do know that Lexington County had Baptist and Lutheran churches. And so you'd want to look for those congregations to see what they might have. And here are a few other record collections. You can see they start in 1911. There is this book. Unfortunately, it's only available in print. And so you would need to go and look at it in person in order to see if you can find what you're looking for. Okay, so now we've established that Martha is the daughter of James Langford and the wife of John Harman. And we found records which are maybe a little bit different than you would expect. For example, the will says daughter and the land record says wife. And those aren't maybe what you would expect when you're looking for evidence of those relationships. Before we go, let's take a quick look at John Harman. So here's John Harman, and we've got some birth and death dates. If we look at the attached records, it looks like they're coming from Find a Grave. So needs a little bit more scrutiny to see how accurate that is. It probably is, but when we've got a parent here and another one. So John Harman has two potential parents, and we can look at this a little closer. I looked at it ahead of time. And so if we view his tree, you can see here's the first potential father. And here's that Milcher Herman, probably Harman, that was mentioned in the land sale that came from Germany, it looks like. And so that follows that path. Let's switch to the other potential parent here, Christian. And Christian is also descendant. So it looks like Christian and John, the previous potential parent, are brothers of this, or descendants in some way of this Milcher Herman. So they're related. And so it could be possible that either one is his parent. And I'm not really sure. So I'm not going to do anything at this point to see which one is correct. I'm going to leave that for someone else to do a deep dive on. But one reason I suggest going through, if there's someone who's interested in trying to figure it out, is going through each of those land records, identifying all of the people involved to see if you can find the correct association to identify his correct father. Godfrey is not one of the listed people here, so I'm wondering how Godfrey comes in to play and how he's related, because I think he's related too. So anyway, there's quite a bit of work there to still figure out. Because I'm working on descendancy, I'm just gonna kind of let that hang out for right now and focus on the descendants of Martha and John Harman, because I'm fairly confident of this connection at this point. I hope that was helpful, demonstrating how you could use different record types to establish relationships. In this case, a will and a land sale record. They aren't expected in that they're not the traditional birth certificate or death certificate or something like that. But in this particular time period, land records in particular and wills are extremely important. And you can see that here, that it did help provide evidence, added some sources to everybody, and that's always good. So I hope that is helpful, and I hope you give the full text AI search on FamilySearch some additional tries to see if you can find some evidence like that for your family. We'll see you next time.